big name with Ron Hornaday, and you guys have got some experiments going on, it sounds like. Let's kind of talk about where you're at and how your career is going right now.
We're at a pretty big point in my career, actually. First of all, I never imagined I'd be back here doing this. When my dad passed away, it was all just kind of a go back here and chase my dreams type spur of the moment decision that I would do again anytime. It's crazy. I see all these guys coming out, and I see them at the PRI show, and Justin Duty, I seen him last week, and I was telling him he's talking about coming to Ohio for this summer to come race, and I was like, if I was anybody back there, the best thing I ever did my whole life, and I would highly suggest it to anybody, is run Florida at Speed Weeks. That's where I got picked up.
Yeah, that's a big event back there.
Absolutely.
And it's a once in a lifetime experience. You go out there and there's anybody's there watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we remember that a couple years ago, and you actually did fairly well, and you got recognized, and from there it just kind of took off, and you got hooked up with Hornaday. Now you're driving the house car for Ron Hornaday. That's just got to be, almost surreal for you. The guy out of Canby, Oregon, makes it back to the big time and gets hooked up with a big name in motorsports.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's pretty cool about everything. It's on and off the track. He's a good supporter. He teaches me everything we do. Everything's a lesson.
Well, I'd say it's a pretty good mind to be learning
take
from.
with you for the rest of your life, no matter where you end up.
Absolutely. So driving the house car, and it's kind of like, you get the benefit of trying all the new stuff. So anything that goes through the shop and goes on the car kind of goes through your hands, and they're really relying on your feedback.
Yes, 2015, I had a killer year. We won like 11 races or something like that, and we're contending for every win. We finished second a bunch of times, and then we started building chassis last year, and I was getting outrun by our other cars. That was pretty cool. But it was my job every time I went on the track to learn something new, to try different things, to build a notebook for the company. And my results don't really show how good of a year we had. We won half a dozen races or something, and it wasn't near as good as the year before, but we learned a lot going into this year. We tested a lot, and we're pretty pumped up for Florida.
Yeah, I bet you guys are really preparing hard for that, because that's not too far away. It's February, right?
Yeah, Horn just started on my car yesterday.
Just yesterday?
Yes, he's putting in hours on that thing. We've been working on our customers' cars, getting those finished up, and all the updates on their cars for this year. And so we just started rocking and rolling on mine. He'll have that thing busted out here in a few days.
Nice. So what is
so we're,
the Hornaday chassis? What do you guys? Well, you're probably not going to tell any secrets on the air, but what's different about the Hornaday program that you've from other programs you've experienced?
Well, with him being with the NASCAR deal for forever, he's huge on safety. We have 1 3/4 cages, which are 1.5 is what most chassis companies are putting out. Mm-hmm. 1 3/4 is what IMCA requires. But we have an extra bar by my head that protect me from side impact and all that. Door plates, there's seat bungs that go through the chassis. Actually bung through the chassis, through the seat. He's so big on it. He won't even let me race without leg braces, because he's like, if you get hit and break your femur, you're done. You die right there.
Wow.
So there's a lot that goes into him. It'd be a deal where you kind of have to see one in person to really realize how much work he puts into these cars to make them safe and fast, and they're also affordable. We're around the $20,000 range for a roller versus these other guys are around like $35,000-$40,000 just for a roller.
That's the thing right now. We were just talking about that off the air a couple days ago. Is just the cost of racing and what it costs for a roller right now is. Everything is skyrocketing. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing right now.
Yeah, it's it's getting crazy. I was talking to my Tyler the other day, and I was telling him, I got to have all these sets of tires, everything mounted up, because we go run all these different series and sanctioned bodies. I'm like, this costs as much as late model racing. But it's the modifieds back here, I would compare them to our late models back home.
Yeah, you guys are on a big time level back there.
Yeah.
Are you running on the
and a lot of guys are doing this for a living.
Right. What series what rules what package are you running?
I run the AMRA and UMP.
Okay. How similar are those two sanctioning
bodies? I can go race and the bodies are similar. There's a few differences. Mostly the spoiler and the tires that you have to run.
Okay. All right.
So we're about a second faster on the AMRA tire setup than we are on UMP.
So
it's a pretty big difference.
This last year here, you had a pretty awesome experience. I mean, that I think anybody would really love to have is you got to go race the Dirt Track World Championship in Charlotte. Let's kind of talk about that and touch base on it, because the level of competition, you're not going to find anything like that anywhere in the country as far as, the drivers and the teams that are there that racing against you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Let's kind of talk about that.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome. We like I told you, we went down there and tested and had a lot of success when we were testing, and our cars were really good. And we went back there the next week, and what happened, they ran a motocross event there, like the week before we went and tested. So they had a bunch of dirt mixed in there. Long story short, the track was day and night different when we went back to the race than it was when we tested on it. And it was slicker than I've ever seen Lebanon.
Yeah, that's pretty slick, because we've seen Lebanon slick off pretty bad.
Slick.
I know in our conversation you said that it was a completely different racetrack and that it was more like ice skating than racing.
Yes, it was. It was an experience, that's for sure. But we learned a lot, and you get on a track like that, and you're trying to pass against the best of the best, and you find yourself on the hook a lot. That's one thing I found. We're talking tow trucks. They got a John Deere that tows you around that place. Tractor. Oh, I've never seen anything like it. Brand new John Deere tractor to come hook up to you.
Wow.
So it was an experience. I can't wait till next year. I feel like we had a lot better car than we showed. We pulled in that race and pitted. We started in the middle and kind of were hanging there. Pulled in, pitted, made some changes, and came back out. We're only 10th off the leader. So I really wish we could start that whole weekend over again. I'd feel a lot better about it.
Yeah, well, you'll be going into the series or the race this year loaded with a little more information and what to expect, and I think that'll work to your advantage.
Yeah.
I think the results.
We also ran Eldora this year. That was great.
Yeah, you got to run Eldora. That's right.
110 cars there, and what's that?
You got to run Eldora. We were going to go into that 110 cars, and you actually ran pretty well there.
Yeah. We it's a 3-day event, 2 qualifiers to lock into a 20-car field, and we were the last one to lock in. It all runs through heat races, qualifying heat races. We were the last one to lock in and started 20th in the feature, and it got up to about 7th or 8th and blew right rear apart and ended up coming home 9th. I was pretty excited about that. The year before we went there for the first time, and being a kid from Oregon, the first time you unloaded Eldora is a little nerve-wracking.
I remember that when we went back with David Hawks in '96. It's a very intimidating racetrack. You look at the big banks and how long the corners are and how fast that place is, and that it gets your attention really quick, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, you go out there and qualifying the first time, and you don't get any hot laps, just straight to qualifying, and it'll give you tingles in your stomach. It's so fast.
Yeah, it was. I know when we unloaded with Hawks back there at Eldora, we got 3 laps. I think they gave us 3 laps of hot laps to get a feel for the car and the track, and then we went straight into qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're running against those guys that have the big experience on the big half miles and the setup knowledge, and they're fast, and you go out and get your tail handed to you like you do back there with those guys. It's you get a real appreciation for what those guys do on a weekly basis, nightly basis.
Yes.
Yeah. Also had you had a win at Moeller Raceway in Ohio. Correct?
Yeah, you know, that was one of the biggest races of my life, really.
Let's kind of talk about that.
We battled side by side with Jamie Lomax, is one of our teammates, and he was at the time ranked number 4 in the country, and we battled side by side, and I ended up getting him in the heat race.
Nice.
And he came back there and passed me in the start of the feature, and we ran side by side. I ended up shuffled back to like 3rd. And I pulled out the old Willamette Speedway trick on a cushion. And it was
awesome.
I love it.
Hard battling. Balls, and you know, I had the number 1 guy in the country. He started like 8th or something, and he's trying to throw slide jobs on me, and it was an intense race all the way to the finish. But it was definitely, I was thinking about Lebanon the whole time. You know, where you slide in there, you get a little too hot and hit the wall, and by the time you come in, you're missing half of your right side of your car. The big old smile on your face the whole time.
I love it. That's a great win and a great story, and hopefully we hear more of that here in the 2016 season. I know that you know, with Hornaday under your seat there and working on the chassis and the cars and all the information learned from him and the feedback you're giving him, I see a lot of success coming your way, Billy, and I know a lot of people out here are really rooting for you. They're really watching you back there. We get a lot of calls here to the show, a lot of messages. Hey, when are you going to talk to Billy? You've talked with Pompey and, you know, Kenny Wallace, and when are you going to talk to Billy? And we've been trying and finally got everything worked out. And, you know, again, we appreciate you calling in. I know that you're working with Ron Hornaday's grandson, Slater, and in our conversation earlier today off the air, you said he reminds you of a certain individual out here. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's crazy. Growing up, you know, Casey Vitale was kind of my mentor. My dad started sponsoring him when I was about 10 years old, 9 years old. And so I grew up watching him and kind of idolizing him, you know, as he came up to the ranks and came back to Kentucky and raced. But, you know, it's a kind of the same deal that I have going on with Slater. You know, we're about the same age difference. And, you know, I've been hands-on helping him. He's finally big enough now where I can get in his car so we can go back and forth and I can actually feel what he's doing, and it helps him better explain everything. But, you know, it's a deal there where it's just pure natural talent. You know, it's Ron Hornaday blood in there, so the kid's good. He actually outran me. At one of my home tracks this year, so it was pretty impressive.
Wow, so he's got some real talent, huh?
Yeah. Hey, another thing I forgot to mention we did this year was my very last race. Hornaday's actually got one of these dirt cars now. Got the 97 paint scheme straight out of California. The car that he's won a lot of races in.
Right.
And we actually went out there and won in that thing. That was pretty neat. He wasn't even there to enjoy it, but it was cool being able to go out in something that means so much to so many people in the West Coast and go out and pick up a win.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that.
That was probably one of the biggest wins.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
now,
it was pretty neat.
One of the co-hosts here, Billy, is Warren Simpson. I'm sure you remember him from your Portland Speedway days when, you know, you and your dad and when you guys were racing out there on the asphalt. And Warren, did you have any questions for Billy? Or you want to bring up any old stories?
You know what? I'm just sitting here thinking how proud I am of him. You know, he's enjoying success and representing very well. And Billy, we're just really proud of you, man. I don't know if you remember me or not. I was on Herschel McGriff Jr.'s car.
Okay.
Yeah. So that and Rod Schultz before that.
Awesome.
But anyway, you know, I've watched you.
Yeah,
it seemed
it's
like
pretty neat hearing him tell all these stories about when he raced up there at Evergreen and all those places by the house.
Right. Yeah.
But see, Billy's doing the real thing now.
I think it was Evergreen. He won a $100,000 truck race.
Yeah. I partied with Ron Hornaday in Tucson once.
Is that a story we want to keep off the air?
No. We just sat in a bar. Ron Hornaday's got to be awesome to work for. I know. Sitting in a bar with him in a motel down there at the Winter Heat, he was just as personable and